I'm talking about trade deals, the same thing. They're so bad, you would say, how come? And even when I'd renegotiate, like, I'd go to a country, they'd give me everything I asked for. I said, why didn't somebody ask for it, like, originally? They give me everything. I think when they were negotiating, they didn't care, or they didn't ask, or they were shy, or they were very stupid, or they hate our country.
Well, I think the short description is, what is it, might say? Oh, they were Democrats. Kind of a combination of all three. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. And a very good Friday to you. Welcome back. The world does appear to be mad a great deal of the time. I think there's no doubt about that. And it pretty much appears to be the Democrat Party every time, doesn't it? These people. A lot of abnormality going on. I've been talking about this for years now, haven't I, Michael? That the left, the Democrat Party, they call themselves Democrats. They're not really Democrats at all. They're the left. And they've been struggling, and I think meeting with great success of late, struggling to make everything normal appear to be abnormal, while simultaneously making everything abnormal appear to be normal. That is, that's the Democrat Party's, that's their campaign. That's their plan. They're completely crazy. We've got a great many stories for you today, as is always the case. And really thanks to the Democrat Party, because they provide us with bounty beyond compare, beyond description. Truly extraordinary stuff. In the state of Maine, used to be such a lovely state, beautiful state. You got the ocean there. Have you noticed that? And rocky things and lots of big houses along the water. Islands, nice place. Maine, a MAGA parent, a guy wearing a Make America Great Again baseball cap, silenced at school board meeting during he was expressing his opposition to what the media likes to call trans athletes in girls' sports. Trans is a prefix and does not just mean that you've severed your genitalia and thrown it off of a cliff. That's not what the word, it's not even a word, it's a prefix. Stop using trans like it means cross-dressing, genital mutilating lunatics. But a parent wearing a Make America Great Again baseball cap at a school board meeting stands and spoke in opposition to men competing against women. It's never women voluntarily competing against men. It's always men who are cross-dressers competing against girls and women. And the man stood up to express his support for actual girls and actual women competing in girls' sports and women's sports, and he was naturally shut down by a fascist woman. It was I can identify this person as a woman, and the woman with the school board shut down the MAGA hat wearing man who supports girls and women because the Democrat Party is mentally ill. It's a mental illness. Just the party membership, I think, can be identified at this point as a mental illness. Speaking of which, we had a transgender. I've got a story today. I want you to say trans because that's a transitory term. But the transgender man who actually served in the Army, came from a family with 8 children, decided kind of late in life, I think, to change genders, right? And did now I'm a lady, now I'm a woman. And then changed his mind and said, oh, no, this whole transgender thing is really bad, and wrote an article for the Daily Signal at the Heritage Foundation saying, oh, this whole transgender thing is a scam and it's really bad. Then changed his mind again. I think might have some mental issues. Changed his mind again and said, no, I'm a girl again. I'm a girl. Well, dude wrote quick notes to some friends and then committed suicide because, and that's very, very common among transgender people, I think, more than any other population living among us. About a 40% people that identify as transgender, not just trans, but transgender. And about a 40% attempted suicide rate, occasionally succeeding. Did he self-immolate? How did he? We'll get into that. But the Democrat Party. So we got those couple of stories because they've got a lot going on, and their little brains, their crazy little brains. So we've got that one coming up. Two of those coming up. It's not just one. They're same topic, but two different Democrat-provided stories because of the mental illness thing that they are all apparently suffering from. Amazing stuff. And the National Panhandler Radio, taxpayer-funded, suckling on the taxpayer teat, left-wing radical propaganda radio for the Democrat Party, funded by us, the taxpayers, because the communists, the Democrat Party, they took over everything long ago. Information dominance, taxpayer dollar dominance. NPR has the story. Why some are accusing Trump of manipulating stock markets. He said yesterday morning, hey, might be a good time to invest, and then he he put a 90-day pause on the whole tariffs thing. And they're like, oh, that's insider trading. And they want a pre-dawn raid by the FBI with a CNN camera crew in tow. They want the White House raided, and they want to fire on Fort Sumter because the Democrat Party is back to their old tricks. And they brought back slavery, too. This time it's illegal aliens who are here to wash the dishes in the back of restaurants, and they love that whole slave labor thing. I'm telling you. But never mind the fact that in 2021, then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who is a brilliant Wall Street investor, what a raconteur she is, absolutely amazing. 2021, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi opposes banning stock buys by members of Congress because insider trading for me, but not for thee. And President Trump didn't buy stocks, and he wasn't telling people other than the entire American public to buy stock. Insider trading for the whole population of the United States of America. Rather than putting Trump in prison, it might be easier to put the entire Democratic Party in prison. What do you think? Just so we have to we'll make California a prison, something like that. Just amazing. Gretchen Whitmer angers Democrats. Gretchen Whitmer, she is a Democrat in Michigan and all that stuff. Gretchen Whitmer angers Democrats with Trump meeting at White House. Quote, beeping disaster. They love cursing now. They love using the F word because they have the brains of children. They're easily impressed by simple little things like genitals, for one. So this is, she had a meeting, a huge embarrassment, the Democrats are calling it, because Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, under fire from fellow Democrats after appearing alongside President Trump. Maybe she was supposed to detonate her suicide vest or something, and she failed to do that because the Democrat Party, they love Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis, and they love Iran, but they hate America and the Jews. They don't like the Jews either. They'd be lining them up at this point. Just a beeping disaster, said one Democrat operative who usually supports Whitmer, but spoke anonymously. Everything's anonymous, right? That's. I had breakfast this morning at home with a woman who will remain anonymous. At this point, because the Democrat Party is very severely mentally ill. They're angry. They're vulgar. They're crass. In the meantime, the President Trump, the Trump administration, President Trump is sending an envoy, Witkoff, to negotiate with Iran over their nuclear weapons program. Now, I believe that Iran would rather kill everybody on Earth than give up their nuclear weapons program. And in fact, the goal of getting the nuclear weapons is to kill everybody on Earth. They'll start with the Jews, and the Democrats will say, well, what do you expect? They were mean to the so-called Palestinians, who aren't actually a nation of people and never have been. But never mind that. But President Trump's envoy is headed to the Middle East, not to Iran proper, but to the Middle East to meet with the terrible, horrible Iranian regime. And Steve Witkoff will sit down with them, lead a delegation. Nuclear talks with Iran Saturday in Oman. which has a lot of shiny new buildings, but they still live in, a period that died 1,000 years ago. They have electricity thanks to Western civilization. They have skyscrapers thanks to Western civilization, but they're still barbarians for a variety of reasons. So we've got that going. And the Democrats really want, look at the Barack Obama administration and Bolt Neck Kerry. They put together what they ridiculously call the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which is the dumbest name for anything ever. And that Boltneck, we sent Boltneck there on his wife's private jet so he could complain about global warming or something. And he said, oh, yeah, you want to continue to enrich uranium? That sounds like a good idea. You guys should do that. You want to continue to spin centrifuges? Heck yeah. You want to advance your ballistic missile program and increase the range of your ballistic missiles that all have death to America written on the nose cones and death to the Jews, death to the great Satan. We're the great Satan. They're not. We are. The terrorist groups all over the Middle East that pay no attention to that remarkable stuff. Wah, wah, wah. Also, Trump envoy flies to Russia, likely to meet with Putin, right? As Iran, China tensions flare. And the news media, they pretend that we are the problem, not Iran or Putin or Xi Jinping in China, not the communists, not the communist Chinese, not Putin is a communist, even though the New York Times calls him a conservative, and because they're mental, they have mental issues. Oh, speaking of mental issues in New York, there's a crazy story out of New York City. I don't even want to tell. It's a little bit too early right now, so I'm going to wait a while on this. But let me say it's, depending on your sense of humor, this story begins when a man dies on a New York City subway train, all right? Man dies on a New York City subway train, and he's kind of on there by himself. Then another man gets on the train. And that's where it begins to get weird, okay? Because it got really weird from that point on. And it is New York, New York. It's a hell of a town. And there aren't enough antibiotics in the world. I got to tell you, there's stuff going on there. Amazing stuff. Also, we have a border. We used to have a southern border. President Trump has reestablished our southern border, American sovereignty. We're an independent country. We have borders like Canada. Canada's lucky to have us to the south and nobody else around them because, their border with us is actually the longest unprotected border on the planet Earth and has long been so because we're such great neighbors. But these hockey-playing jokesters in Canada, America's largest national park, they're there in some weird places here and there. Not as weird as the New York City subway train, but never mind that. So the Supreme Court yesterday orders Trump to retrieve Kilmore Abrego Garcia, the MS-13 gang member from Maryland that the Democrats have been fighting so valiantly for. They're willing to lay down in front of trains to get the MS-13 gang member back into the United States so that he can, continue to do what MS-13 gang members do. The Democrats love MS-13. They just hate the United States of America, not on our side. So the Politico left-wing radicals, Trump administration must facilitate return of man erroneously deported to El Salvador. Supreme Court says. This is fascinating, and I'll respect the court and their legal opinions, even though I think that illegal alien gang members should be catapulted out of the country unceremoniously or ceremoniously, whichever you prefer. Got a lot of amazing stuff going on. Also, NBC fake news. They slandered an OBGYN, a medical doctor in Georgia. And now, because they slandered this Dr. Mahendra Amin, they're going to have to pay $30 million to the doctor because NBC News lied about him and slandered him and maligned him. We also had this wild helicopter crash in New York on the Hudson River, a family of 5 visiting the United States, killed. The Democrats don't really care because they apparently weren't illegal aliens. If they're illegal aliens, then they could become angry with Trump and burn a Tesla or something because they're always thinking, aren't they? I'm tapping my right temple with the tip of my right index finger. Always thinking, are those Democrats? Yeah, so $30 million to NBC News. Got that coming up. A grandmother convicted of being pro-life in Great Britain because they don't believe in the free practice of religion or in free speech or the freedom to assemble. That's why we broke away from them long ago, kicked their limey, pasty buttocks out of the country. Pasty flounders that they are. We've got that. And Americans more and more want to live a child-free life. That's coming up. We're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Yeah, some goings-on on Capitol Hill, too. Always exciting, Capitol Hill, isn't it? Depending on how weird they get. Let's go to the telephones. Let us go to Jack, calling from the great big state of California. Jack, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, what a great show.
Why, thank you.
I'm so glad we have computers. I can hear you just like you're in my living room. I'm so embarrassed about our representatives that come from California. I got to tell you, Adam Schiff, I want to get to him because he's a mortgage fraud. He should be the poster boy for mortgage fraud. They write stories about how he got his mortgage and he never lived here and he lied on the loans, but we'll get to that next. We have Ro Khanna. I want to just give you the great line, like a baseball team, right? Ro Khanna, who goes on MSNBC. He's a leftist. He goes on Fox. He's a righty. He thinks he's fooling everybody. We got a new congressman named George Whitesides. He replaced a great guy named Mike Garcia up in the northern L.A. County area. He misses more votes than anybody. He's at the highest level that a freshman they've ever seen. Missing votes, George Whitesides. You have the three amigos, Robert Garcia, Pete Aguilar, Raul Ruiz. They get together. They're just knuckleheads. Kamala, Gavin. I mean, this is a pretty Swalwell. How about your buddy Swalwell with the Chinese? I mean, it really is unbelievable, led by Nancy Pelosi and the corruption. Her father was, mayor of Baltimore. There was a lot of shady things back then. But Adam Schiff saying Trump is doing insider trading is ridiculous. This guy lied on his mortgage. Nobody talks about it except in California. And we need people that are examples of mortgage fraud as we come into a better economy. And Adam Schiff is nobody better than him.
Well,
and my last thing is this.
Yeah, quick.
The business of the $350 billion, because I heard your show a few months ago, and it was $350 billion for the Green New Deal. They found $20 billion with, the EPA. But where's the other 300? It was 375. Where's the other 350?
They gave $2 billion to Stacey Abrams for nothing. Very good, very, very good. We've got, riding the New York subway train is getting weirder and weirder. Either that or we're just finding out how weird it's been all along. I want to get to that. But the Democrats and transgenderism, you know how they love transgenderism. They love cross-dressing. The entirety of the Democratic Party loves cross-dressing. And abortion, of course. And they really don't like government efficiency. Boy, they're very angry about any discussion of government efficiency makes them very, very angry. Very angry indeed. And a lot of them, they do terrible things to themselves. But there are like this America's first non-binary person who won a landmark court victory. Tragic end for him, calling himself her. But we'll get to that. Right now, I want to get to this story out of Maine, which used to be known for normal people who speak slowly and don't really want to talk to you. But I always like people from Maine. My brother Daniel used to live in Portland, Maine. I went and visited him, spent time with him there. And people are like, oh, yeah, Mainers are so chilly. I didn't find that to be the case. They're just kind of mellow, I think, kind of mellow. Perfectly fine. Portland can get a little weird, though, even in Maine, not just the other one on the West Coast. But let me get to this story out of Maine. Maine MAGA parent. Here's the headline at the Fox News Channel. Maine MAGA parent silenced at school board meeting during speech opposing trans athletes in girls' sports. I think they mean transgender athletes in girls' sports. And he ends up as saying, communist China right here. And it really does turn into this crazy, crazy thing. Now, let me go to this because we have audio, because they had a video camera right there in the meeting with the school board. A school board meeting in Maine's capital city of Augusta. That's their capital city in Maine, Augusta. On Wednesday night, featured a contentious interaction between a parent in a MAGA hat. It didn't just say M-A-G-A, it spelled out Make America Great Again hat. It's a black baseball cap. It's like the one that Elon Musk wears. That probably made them even angrier. They're very angry about everything, and usually it's about something demented, something involving mental illness. But between a parent in a MAGA hat and the school board president, over the state's ongoing controversy over transgender athlete inclusion, I'm not going to use the abbreviation of trans, as transgender, cross-dressing, people with a lot of issues. Augusta School Board the chair of the school board, Martha Witham, cut off local parent Nick Blanchard while he discussed the controversial issue and a petition that he launched to have Coney Middle and High School principal Kim Liscombe removed from her position. What do you think her position is? Because I'm imagining a contorted, but never mind that. As seen in footage of the meeting, and we have the footage of the meeting that we're going to share with you, the audio portion, because we're on the radio. Liscombe is currently the president of the Maine Principals Association, which supports transgender athletes' participation in school sports based on gender identity, and has been a subject of scrutiny by President Donald Trump's administration over the issue. Blanchard, who showed up at the meeting, the man, in a MAGA hat and a T-shirt of Governor Janet Mills that read, "You're fired." That's a little Donald Trump reference there. You're fired of the current Democrat governor who's pro-transgender cheating and stealing. And East Germany is dear to her heart. Blanchard started the speech by praising the 6 of the 7 members on the school board who voted to adopt the 2020 interpretation of Title IX that did not allow trans athletes to compete as girls. That would be good. Blanchard, the man in the MAGA hat, also condemned the school board member who voted against it, which prompted the first interruption by Witham. Now, listen to this. I want to play the audio for you at the Maine school board meeting in their state capital with a woman who is identifiable as a woman talking to a man who's trying to get his point. And wait till you hear what she says, because it's almost funny. We're at not so third world and banana republic and communistic. Apparently, you can come to a school board meeting and you can express your opinion as long as it's positive. And if it's not positive, then you must be stamped down by Madame Mao here, by Madame Khrushchev, who doesn't believe in free speech or the First Amendment or the citizen, the taxpayer's right to petition the government. It's they're like practically the entire First Amendment here. He's not a member of the press, I guess, but he showed up. He's a father. He's got a right to assemble. He's got a right to free speech. He's got a right to his religious views, but not for the left. The left will steamroll all of that. So here is, let's go to our first soundbite from this. a father in Maine, Nicholas Blanchard, school board meeting, and he's just trying to make his point. He wants to say what he believes. He's a father. And Martha Witham is the fascist Nazi Hitler. That's what we do. That's the rhetoric now, right? She's the little Hitler lady. It's kind of Ava Braun. I guess she's the Ava Braun of Maine. And it started like this.
Nicholas Blanchard, Augusta. Good afternoon, Augusta School Board. I'd like to start off tonight by saying good job and thank you to the 6 members that voted to go back to the 2020 interpretation of Title IX. And shame on the 1 board member that voted no.
I'm sorry, but negative comments will not be allowed.
What?
Most of you have heard by now that I have started a petition that Augusta concerned parents, both Republican and Democrat, are signing. This petition is asking if you, the school board members, will put up a vote to have Miss Kim.
I'm sorry, that's not going to be tolerated.
She's also a public...
I'm sorry, it will not be tolerated.
Sig Heil, meine Schatz. Wait a minute. Negative comments will not be tolerated because don't you know who we are? We're the school board. We're the government. We're the state. And we will determine what may be said and what may not be said, what will be allowed in terms of speech and what will not be allowed in terms of speech at a stinking, lousy, filthy Maine school board meeting.
I'm sorry, but negative comments will not be allowed.
I'm sorry, but negative comments will not be allowed. I don't think you're sorry. I think she should grow a little Hitler mustache. I think she might. Let's look closely. She might have a little Hitler mustache because these people, they're not liberals. They're the left. They don't believe in free speech. Negative comments. Why would anyone go to a public meeting with government officials and not say something negative, not have negative comments? I don't understand. But she, again, one of my old sayings, give a liberal a thimble full of power and they'll abuse it before the sun goes down. Negative comments will not be allowed. That is absolutely... So only positive comments are allowed. Is that correct? Madam Frau School Board Führer?
I'm going to ask you to step from the podium. That's the second warning I'm going to give you about making defamatory remarks about
How was that defamatory remarks?
I know it was.
That defamatory remarks?
I don't have to explain it to you.
So you're just going to make a claim and just...
I'm not going to allow you to speak to school personnel in any way.
I'm not speaking to them. I'm speaking to you guys. I am speaking to the board. I made that clear. I said, most of you have heard. I am asking you, the school board.
These comments will not be tolerated at the meeting directed to us or to anybody else in this room.
She should be arrested.
Is that not what we're doing here? Is me making comments directly to you guys with me standing here talking?
It was involving an employee. It will not be tolerated.
The employee is her. You guys can't call anybody Nazis. You gotta cut this out. It's like a game of dress up and make believe. It's deflection. It's projection. It is the Russian playbook. Whatever these leftists accuse, and remember Adolf Hitler's party was the National Socialist German Workers' Party. It was the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, and we call them Nazis, and Hitler is a bad name in human history. And these little fascists, these tin pot fascists, and this little tin pot fascist, in this case, school board chair Martha Witham, 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 and should know, it's defamatory. You can't defame government officials. That's obviously constitutionally protected free speech. And you can defame government officials. You can, and I don't think he defamed anybody, just by the way. But you're allowed to under the Constitution of the United States. But these in Maine, no less. You guys, you need to move to Canada, where they throw grandmothers in prison for, being pro-life and things. The left is here, and they're here to destroy the world. The key to destroying the world is just destroying the United States. And these people, the left, the horrible, tragic, assassinating, shooting, looting, mob violence left, they're a danger to civilization itself. And then there's Martha Witham, who's a school board member in Augusta, Maine, and she's here to crush free speech, to steamroll free speech. How dare, no, that's not allowed. Negative comments are not allowed at a public meeting where taxpayers show up to petition the government.
I don't have to explain it to you.
Wow. You really are. There should be a pre-dawn raid at this woman's house. She should be dragged away in leg cuffs and ankle cuffs like Peter Navarro at the airport during the Biden fascist era. These people are quite amazing, aren't they? Now, the father, Blanchard, is like, wait a minute. I'm here. I've started a petition. This is a public school board meeting. I'm a tax-paying citizen, a father, and I came here to express my First Amendment rights. This has to do with my religious beliefs, and this is me petitioning my government. That's 3 of the 5 pillars of the First Amendment. Pretty amazing stuff. Your Democrat Party.
Okay, I won't mention no names.
Once more, you're off the podium.
So, as most of you know, someone is the president of the Maine Principal Association.
Nope, close enough. I'm sorry. You're done, Mr. Blanchard. You're done, Mr. Blanchard.
What? How is
done, Mr. Blanchard?
Wow. Communist China right here.
That's a fact, Jack. And then the school board president, I think, went and firebombed a Tesla dealership and shouted up and called for the Jews to be wiped out from the river to the sea. Because today's Democrat Party is so close to being a fascist army living among us. They're anti-Constitution, they're anti-Bill of Rights, they're anti-First Amendment, they're anti-free speech, anti-free practice of religion, anti-right to assemble, anti-right to petition your government. It is pretty extraordinary stuff. And this is in Augusta, Maine, because anywhere you find the left, you find the death of freedom. You find the death of civilization. They're choking the life out of the Bill of Rights. They're not liberals. They're the left. The left are the biggest fascists in the history of the world. Again, Hitler's party, the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. And these people go around calling other people Nazis. You've lost the right to call anybody else names related to authoritarianism or Nazism because you guys are breathing life into the fascism of the 20th century, of the totalitarianism of the 20th century. The only people that murdered more human beings than the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler in Germany. There was the Socialist Party of Joseph Stalin next door in the Soviet Union, and that only until the communists of Chairman Mao in China came along and murdered 50 million to 75 million people. Just amazing. The Democrat Party shouldn't be allowed to participate in elections in the United States of America. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Matt calling from Sandusky, Ohio. Matthew, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for taking my call. You are the king of talk shows, my friend. Maybe someday we'll meet.
You're very kind. I'll look forward to that. I'll buy the beer.
Well, you ought to make an appointment. Anyway, I'm thinking outside the box here, Chris, because these lunatics are not going away on their own. And that's a lot to ask of a lunatic, I realize. But holy cow, maybe we need to put in the budget a federal sanitarium, get a megabus, put it on the sides, whatever you want, and start going around the country and picking these lunatics up. Because they're making policies that are hurting our children. And if our children can't count on us that aren't lunatics to protect them from the lunatics, then what good are we? We need to do more. I'm trying to think outside the box here, Chris. If I walked down the street and was quacking like a duck, there was a day in America that somebody could have called the cops and they would have locked me up. And similarly, I don't see much difference between a man being a woman and a woman being a man. We need to get these people out of decision-making positions somehow.
I think you're right about that. You're no doubt right about that. And, Matt, I got to tell you, I mentioned this earlier this week, but there is first of all, President Trump was elected because of this rampant, pervasive mental illness that we call the Democratic Party and the arrogance with which they wage war against not just civility, but civilization itself. The Enlightenment, and I've been talking about this for years, the Enlightenment is under attack. Western thought is under attack. I got another one out of the UK to share with you today, too. they could be even in worse shape than we are. But the Christian Science Monitor yesterday, meet the loud majority. College conservatives are silent no more. I think I hope that there is a wave taking place on campuses across America of common sense. Common sense needs to make a comeback. And I've got more on that coming up. Matthew, thank you for the call and for the nice words. Look forward to the beer.
I'm doing exactly what I pledged to do in the campaign. The men and women's sports, everything.
I'm sorry, but negative comments will not be allowed. I don't have to explain it to you.
Negative comments about your government will not be allowed, and she doesn't have to explain it to you. She ought to be gassed. What? I know, that was hyperbole. But if she wanted to do it at home, like a lot of Democrats, that's now. But we actually shared another story out of the state of Maine with you, I guess, a couple of weeks ago now, when an elected member of the State House, a Republican woman named Laurel Libby. Laurel Libby is a Republican state rep from Auburn in Maine, and she spoke up on the House floor about transgender, like boys stealing girls' trophies.
Boys participating in girls' sports is not fair. When you shine a spotlight on the truth, you can expect opposition. Mr. Speaker, may I finish? Maine girls will not get fairness in Maine.
They shut her down.
And when the woke left can't silence women, cancel them.
The representative will defer.
See, they can't, and again, they wouldn't let her speak. They shut her down, and then they stripped her of her right to vote in the State House. And it's going to the Supreme Court in Moscow to see whether, and if that doesn't work, it'll go to the Supreme Court in Beijing because the Democrats are venue shopping again. State Representative Laurel Libby lost her ability to speak or vote on the House floor after the House voted, the Democrats, to censure her for violating the legislative code of ethics by standing up for girls and women when the Democrats are waging war against civilization and civility. The left is here.